All right, what's new and exciting? I don't see Jackie. I'll start with mine. And Jason's been largely engaged in this effort, but I'm really excited to see the kind of collaboration point within product marketing, the customer success organization, as well as I think there's going to be more collaboration with docs around these use cases, which are kind of, you can think of it as a more customer-focused go-to-market motion that is also really aligned with our desire to expand span for users. It's part of like driving the user adoption journey. And so the customer success organization is kind of measured on increasing span within their accounts. And they're kind of pushing the PMM for more documentation about how to do that, what the process is, how do we sell a customer on, in this case, CI/CD. And so I've been really heartened to see that. I'll put that little note that we also have to be careful to not replicate our docs, and Jason's been doing a great job with the Verify one of making sure we don't do that. I was actually, right before this meeting, doing a Google search for use cases, and I could only find the page where we list all the use cases, not the specific ones. So Jason, if you have that one handy, I'd appreciate you dropping it in under B.
Which one are you looking for?
The CI one that you've been contributing.
Oh, sure. Yep, 1 sec.
Thanks. All right. Thao, you want to go next? Oh, actually, Jackie, you want to go? We skipped you. You
Sure. Sorry, I'm late. So in 13.1, we're taking some time to invest in our technical improvements. So like GraphQL implementation. We're also fixing a couple of the performance issues that we noticed inside of our pages implementation with some tests. And then, of course, in 13.0, we shipped our API for deploy freezes, which is really good, and our edit milestones in UI. Also super excited because Darren is going to help me with my secrets management vision, which is great. Very excited about that. And that's it.
On your, I saw your kickoff video, and I think I gave you some feedback about framing, but are you, maybe just for everyone's benefit, as you're taking some time to clean up, is that slowing down to speed up in the future, or because you're working on a bunch of high impact problem validations that you want to make sure you get right before you would have the team start working on them?
Oh, no, that's kind of like the second one's a byproduct. The first one is to slow down to speed up. So GraphQL will allow our front end team to enable some endpoints from the front end so that they can work on some features on the releases page as we begin to expand it, which will be an increase in our velocity. We also have tests for the disk serving on pages, which will allow us to actually be able to fine tune and see how our object storage is benefiting our serving of files, which is great because I want to understand whether or not we should stop investing in that project or continue investing in that project. If there's no benefit in performance, then we have to really be mindful of the time we're spending on it. So it's definitely the second one.
Okay. Sorry, definitely the first one. Slow down.
First one, sorry.
Okay. Thao.
So for CI, pipeline filters is now available for two criteria, author and branch. That's going to launch in 13.0. It's actually out there right now. And then a couple more in 13.1. That might help folks who are looking for specific things when they're looking at pipelines. Our users, especially if they're in a big organization that has a huge list of pipelines. And then we're still recruiting for participants to test the Jenkins wrapper. I had a couple ideas from engineering and from UX for that. Dimitri told me he started a UX research project. Maybe we can recruit through our first look program, and maybe that'll give incentive for folks to I think there's a lot of interest, but I think people are also very busy with their own, so we don't have a lot of participation yet. And then another idea engineering gave me is maybe we put up a web page that will come up on a search engine that will point them to the Jenkins wrapper public issue. The other thing I was not finished typing yet is the CI team is, we've had a lot of changes on the team, and we're just now really starting to get gelled as a team. And, in how we work and the iterations and the planning and stuff. So one thing that I'll add to the notes here is when we had the book club and there was an image in the essentialism book of the two circles for effort. One was the arrows that went everywhere and kind of going nowhere, but in every direction. And then the circle of the arrow having one long, the circle having one long arrow making progress on something. I think that's where our team was at with the first circle. And so after we've already planned 13.1, but it is really only our second milestone of working the way we want to work with our new process. But I think in 13.2, what's going to be exciting is I'm going to focus just on one area of functionality that we haven't made progress on. And it'll either be throwing all of our effort into the the issues under the EPIC for parent-child pipeline, or all of it under the rules syntax, so that we can try to see if we make more projects. I also listened to the peanut butter and long tails video, so that kind of inspired me.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think this is the image for those who aren't familiar. That one.
Yep. So.
Cool. That's great. Thanks, Thao.
Yep.
Nadia.
Yeah, something exciting. I think that UX teams in creating, verifying, secure, and actually even beyond that are joining to help to improve the experience on the merge request widgets, the issue that myself has triggered and started. So I included the issue in the video, but now also later I've seen that actually that's one of the key, it's not OKRs, it's key results. So would really appreciate help from the product management to prioritize some of those improvements that we're going to be pushing to propose your way. Because there was a pretty interesting video for those who haven't seen that. Definitely advise to do that. There is some eye-opening information and it's really cross-functional, cross-stage, cross-platform.
All right, Jason.
So I've just been enjoying that weekly goal setting process. It's really working for me to get a bunch of things on every Monday set up and knocked out. Really enjoying that. It's helping me work on cool things and keep myself super busy. So I'm appreciating that.
Cool. Viktor.
Yep. I already spoke about it, but basically it still makes me super excited. The reviewing Terraform changes in merge requests, simply because we are getting a ton of feedback in the issues and from customers and so on. So it's really cool to have something that finally is in line with our customers and they are excited about it. And the other is we had the design sprint like 2 weeks ago around Kubernetes integration, and currently we are working on a proof of concept for that, which is an agent-based approach to Kubernetes integration. So it won't need cluster admin rights and all the limitations that the current solution has. It's pretty interesting that I can see on the engineers that from their point of view, it's just something they have to do, and that's it. While from my point of view, I see that this is the right approach to Kubernetes, but there are so many questions that are related to the value proposition of this offering that should be answered sooner or later. And these are two things that make me excited.
Cool. Viktor, I think I posted the link to the video in the product channel Friday or Saturday, but that video that you did where I think probably Maria had created the storyboard and then you walked through the storyboard with a user was super cool to see. I mean, not for everyone on this call in terms of the specific Kubernetes agent flow, but just seeing you walk through a user who is unaccustomed, walk them through that storyboard was pretty cool. So if you could share that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I've seen the video. I think that was an amazing technique to collect input from users. So thumbs up for that as well, Viktor. And a question, have you previously experienced the design sprints, Viktor, or that was the first one in your stage group?
Is Viktor frozen? That was the first one that I've seen done here at GitLab, to be honest. I think there was a time maybe a year ago where we said we were going to do a handful of small isolated ones and they didn't, that were actually run by Google Ventures and they weren't super successful if I recall correctly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was curious. I know that there are some more coming up in ops. They're practicing right now, but wanted to hear Viktor's experience for that. But we can discuss it later. Also, happy to see that we are practicing that. I think that's an amazing design thinking technique.
But if you want, then we
go
can set up a separate call for that or anything.
I will probably set up a coffee chat. Anyway, nice to talk.
Cool. Yep.
Dove.
Yeah, so first of all, I'm really happy with the amount of deliverables that we were able to ship in this iteration, 13, specifically around the variables on dashboard. This is something that is really like, I'm biased, but I think it's really like an awesome feature that we're an enhancement to our dashboard. And generally speaking, the amount of features that we added to the metric dashboard is really cool. I probably should start drafting a blog on all the new cool features that we release, so our users will be able to easily discover what are the new features that we have. And also excited about the 13.1 plan that is actually in progress now. Really, really excited is that the fact that after 13.1, I do believe that our info team should be able to start using, and I'm saying like really using. Up until today, they were just looking at the dashboard and say, oh, maybe you can do this, maybe that. But I do believe that at least we can replace some of the existing Grafana dashboard and make sure that our metric chart will be embedded in their workflow. And with that, we'll be able to get real feedback instead of just like a really long list of all the features that, like a wish list of all the things that they would like us to implement. So yeah, happy about those two.
Awesome. Yeah, totally agree. And I know there's a, what do we call it, simulation day, where we're going to attempt to use all of our GitLab Monitor tools in replace of the existing tools in late June. But yeah, the progress has been pretty astounding. So yeah, congrats. Okay, so we have OKRs and then active discussions. I do want to, Darren, I'm going to apologize. I'm going to take a little bit of like leadership liberty and bump up Jackie's discussion, because I do think it's specifically about our OKRs and it's our first time discussing since we've had the OKRs. And I want to make sure we get to this topic, which is a focus on span. So Jackie, why don't you kick it off? You had the question and some comments about what you're working on.
Yeah, for sure. So Ori and I have this release epic where we've landed cross-stage issues just as something that we're tracking together as an initiative. I've listed some of the issues that are contained within that epic below, but I wanted to see, is anyone else tracking things like this? And is there a more global way that we should be updating these or tracking these? And should we consider a handbook page that highlights these different features? Wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah. And then Victor, you want to voice over yours and then I can comment.
My comment is really minor. Unfortunately, my answer to Jackie's question is that no, I don't have epics for that. Basically, I faced it only last week that how low awareness is about the features that the Configur group actually has, even amongst experienced GitLab users. So we just realized this seriously last week, and we are trying to come up with ideas how to fix it. And we have only that one issue that I linked. There's only one idea in it, and my product designer would like to look at several ideas before we develop anything. But this specific idea might influence actually others as well. Like Tim Rizzi already commented on that issue, and I think it might be interesting to Orit as well, and even some other people here.
Cool. Yeah, you can see if you look at the, let me just type this out, dialogue in the OKR issue. I think that the magnitude of this OKR improvement is large. So large that if we were to say we are all like working towards improving this, shipping a handful of features that provide better interconnectedness between stages is not going to move the needle within a quarter of this type of span increase. I had a dialogue on that issue about, if that's the case, if we want it to be large, we could think of this as an opportunity to kind of like inject a more growth-minded mindset into each product group. But I feel like we're a little bit ahead of the game because we're still adopting North Star metrics. The idea would be, let's get North Star metrics under our belt, understand our funnel, then we can start saying, well, to get to Viktor's point, he's realized that adoption is the what do you call it? The like squeeze point in his funnel. There's a word for that I'm forgetting right now. And so he would target improvements that might not be product features. They might be just awareness type features. And those are, I think some teams might not be ready for that. I guess, let me describe that. Some people might not have a good enough understanding of their funnel to do that. But if you are, I think now is an opportunity to begin prioritizing those kind of pure awareness and adoption type features. A great example that I've seen recently was Ori has planned this improvement to the user flow when adding AWS variables to also show them, oh, here's some templates you could use for your CI if you're adding an AWS variable. So helping that adoption journey for users. So I guess when I think about how to increase span, I don't want it to just be, well, we are already doing some other activities that help the interconnectedness between our stages, so that's what's helping span. We should really think about it in terms of how can we move the needle directly. And if you're prepared and you have good data that says, hey, the pain point isn't I need new features to attract users to this stage, it's actually I need awareness or to improve the adoption journey, let's focus on those things instead. What I'm cognizant of is that some groups don't even have North Star metrics being measured yet. That would all be just their presumption. And so I want to make sure we're following the actual growth process and not kind of skipping the line. Does that make sense? What does everyone think about that? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, as far as increasing adoption across stage, is that also something the growth team is focusing on? Like, for example, I had a coffee chat maybe 2 months ago with Tim Hay, and he was telling me that they were going to have some almost wizard-like guide to the user to say, hey, we see that you're using source code management, but you have no pipeline. In 2 minutes, you can set up your pipeline to increase the use of users in that namespace to another stage. And, we duplicating what they're doing is what I'm saying within each group of
their
adoption between stages.
Let me turn your question into another question. Have they delivered on that at all?
Actually, at the time, he was describing the concept and some of the designs for the UI to guide the user. I don't know if they've delivered it.
Okay. I mean, I don't. I think they might be focused on high priority stage adoption. So the one for Verified, that might be the one that they are working on. But in any other case, I'm fairly certain that this is not in their top priority. And they're relatively small teams, keep in mind. Okay. Like, I think each growth team is 2 to 3 full stack developers. So they're not making major improvements. I think they should be an enabler. And one thing that if you feel like you've got good metrics and know that maybe awareness and adoption are your pain points, meeting with a growth PM and getting an understanding of what types of experimentation you could do or what ideas they might have might be useful, but I think it's going to be incumbent on your teams to ship the improvements.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think there might be a difference in like the growth triggers that Tim Hay's implementing and like the features of sustained adoption where you're going to influence deals or retention.
Okay.
And I guess, Jackie, I'm explicitly saying there might be some growth trigger work that we do independently in our teams. If, to Viktor's point, awareness is a bigger problem than having a new feature.
Right.
And so I think it's really great to start thinking, I guess my TLDR is I really want us to start thinking about span. Our long-term plan is to make sure that each product group is growth-minded and thinks about their funnel and targets improvements that aren't necessarily just attracting new users with features, but also that like awareness and adoption journey. And I just am a little bit concerned that the more important goal is to make sure we have North Star metrics. That's like the preceding action to being able to be growth minded. And so I want to make sure that first and foremost, we're instrumenting for North Stars, understanding our funnel, then we would start targeting improvements based on that understanding of the funnel.
Okay, so hold tight for now on where to post these or how to have conversations with other teams.
Yeah, Anoop proposed in that issue, the OKR issue, that we start adding the just like, here's things that we were already working on. Yeah, I think I already said, I think that just feels like us writing down work we were already planning on doing. Okay. But I do want to make sure that there are opportunities for us to be growth minded and make sure we're focused on most important part of our funnel, but let's make sure we have our funnel first. So the answer is there probably will be a place that I'll ask you to write down those issues. But I want to make sure we're not muddling that, like, this is by just writing down our issues that are features that connect between stages, that is the best way for us to improve span. And that I expect in maybe future quarters, as we have North Star metrics in place, we will come back and have more data-driven focus on activities that would drive span.
The OKRs, 3A and 3B, they're still active for this quarter.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not saying you can follow that dialogue in the issue. Okay. Anoop is, you'll hear this from me a lot. I do think as we are, like, there's a certain cadence or sequence by which we're maturing our organization and adding our new kind of like product capabilities, I guess you call them, product management capabilities. Mm-hmm. First was we had problem validation, and we're growing our kind of customer intimacy. Now we're trying to become data driven and have North Star metrics and understand our customer's journey and kind of funnel. Then I think we can talk about being very growth focused and moving growth metrics like span in a quarter. I'm a little bit hesitant to suggest that we can do that. And to Jackie's point, the natural response today is going to be, let's add all the existing stuff we're doing that has interconnectedness. But that's not, we should be honest with ourselves that that's not realistically going to move the needle from 1.4 to 1.7 in the course of the next 2 months. And that's what I'm concerned about, is that I don't want you all to come away with the conclusion that that's the type of activity that moves span rapidly. That okay. We need to make sure we understand our funnels, then we can have activities. And Jackie, I know that you are very aware of your funnel, and if those truly are the things that you consider to be most capable of moving your span, that's great. I don't want to discount that. I'm just saying I know a number of teams don't even have instrumented North Star metrics yet, so it would be hard to suggest that any activities we propose would be the ones that drive span most efficiently. I feel like I left that muddled, Thao. I'm looking at you as my...
No, I understand what you're saying. It's just a little confusing. I understand the sequence in which we need to focus, like in this case, B before A on the agenda. But it's tricky that they're still both OKRs for the quarter, you know? Yeah, like we can't, I'm not saying you say ignore the span stuff. You're saying, you know, we really need to, that's something that we need to at least get our North Star metrics solid before we, but still being in the, okay, both of them being in OKRs in the same quarter, I'm just trying to think of how I'm going to achieve whatever is expected under each. But there's stuff that I haven't read through on that discussion in the span one, so I'll go catch up there.
Okay, yeah, I think the part of the intention was that the growth team would be very focused on that span one, but we're now kind of asking the product organization to list off, or the, let's call them the DevOps product groups, to list off their items. And what I'm worried about is that we walk away from that saying, let's say next quarter we had another span increase OKR, that we would think that's the primary way you increase span, which it shouldn't be. We should have a growth mindset, and we should use our North Star metrics to specifically target activities.
That makes sense.
Okay, we're now out of time. Sorry, Darren. Do you want to, we can save it for the next meeting for next week, Darren, or we can,
Yep.
you can post it in
Next
Slack if you want to share it. Okay.
No, next meeting is fine. This is
Okay.
mobile voiceover anyway.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.